Welcome to Colored Out.
Oh, hell no! Where they at, though?
Colored Out.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Colored Out.
Bye, Felicia.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Colored Out. Today we have Reeve.
What's going on, y'all?
Me. What do you do? KD.
What's up?
And Mo.
I'm just
Well, Mo's in the background, doing background stuff. So we're gonna jump right into our. What are we gonna call this?
conversation.
We're going to call this What's Your Role? That's what we call it.
What your role is?
Yes.
Yes, and Karreith, are you dumb for even bringing it up?
Are you dumb?
Well,
That's what that is.
hold on. Before we go into it, before we came into the studio, we were having a conversation in the car where Reeve has a manager who is wearing tight clothing per se.
According to him, is
tight clothing is too simple of an explanation.
so. Is it? That's what I'm trying. Is it stockings? What is it?
You know what? Like knee high.
Knee highs, okay.
What colors on them? All the way up to the booty. How about that? I think that's
All the way up to the booty. The colors, you mean?
Knee high colored pants.
Okay.
And he had the audacity to say that is inviting.
Right.
It's very inviting.
And that
Inviting
is
for whom?
and that is the
You
word
should-
that has gotten
I don't
Okay,
understand-
here's the-
I don't understand how y'all two smart, beautiful women can sit there and honestly not understand how
Here's what I'm saying.
I'm wondering how you feel like that's inviting.
Here's my point with all this. You're using the word inviting. You're not inviting unless I give you an invitation.
An invitation.
Are you dumb?
So
Exactly.
if you're saying that the knee high colored all the way up to the booty,
Is that a better terminology?
A what?
It's an unwanted invitation.
Unwanted by you, but it's
Right.
an invitation nonetheless. You don't
No,
believe it.
no, it's not an invitation. Again, an invitation.
So basically you're
an
saying-
invitation is saying, "Here, come."
right?
If she
I'm
said-
inviting
if
you
she
personally
said, if
to
she said, "Reeve, I come," that's an invitation.
right.
Okay. And that's the part. And no, because what you're saying is very significant because that is
What
we're talking
women
about-
deal with every day.
No, that's
But women deal with that
called-
every day because.
that's called rape culture.
But
You're in
what
rape
you're saying,
culture.
right? Okay, for you, right? It's the knee high, tight, colored all the way up to the booty. But for some men,
wearing the body, it's
Sure,
not like it's
sure.
regular leggings.
We got all that.
Sweatpants. It's like Jesus, come
Okay.
on.
For some men, right? For some men, it could just be regular jeans. They're like, "Ooh, she look good in them jeans." Oh, she must want something, or whatever. It could be anything. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's all in the perception. So I might see.
You're saying my comment is too broad for the spectrum. When I'm specifically talking
Well,
about those specific
okay.
things that you wear, I'm not
Okay.
talking about jeans. I'm talking about those specific.
Karreith, you know what brought up the conversation? You referred to a previous time where I was wearing something, and
Of
Rebecca.
that nature,
Sure.
not that. You
Right. I got it. And Rebecca came to me and talked to me about it. Right? Okay. Cool. You said, "Oh, why isn't Rebecca talking to her about it? Maybe Rebecca don't see it as inappropriate.
Very inappropriate.
Maybe she don't see it that way."
Or maybe she's in a position in which she can't really say that because she is.
Let me just say this about this particular manager that we're talking about. If she cannot find a problem with you, she will make stuff up.
I see what she's
Let's just be real. That's a whole thing. That's Rebecca all day. I'm calling it. That's the name, and that's what she does.
Okay,
She's a hater.
Can I jump in now?
It is what it is. Yeah.
Reeve, what you say when you say it's inviting or it's uninviting?
I feel it's inviting.
It's that what you're perpetrating is rape culture.
It's not even rape culture. It's that misogynistic thing of that women put on clothes for you
Right.
to appeal to you and not to be comfortable.
But that's a part of rape culture as well because what a woman wears doesn't mean that she's inviting something. A girl could be walking down the street butt naked. That does not mean you are invited or you have open fields.
Karrei's face is like, what do you mean?
That does not mean
if
you
walk
can
around
go and like grab her. No, she's not yours.
Okay.
She's not property. And that goes back to how male feel women are property. We're not property.
I'm gonna go where no man had gone before.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah.
Lord.
No. It's not going to be something cool.
All right, keep Lady Godiva in your mind when you make your
Last
statement.
me for a minute. I want to have y'all walk me through a female thought process.
Okay.
When she's picking her clothes out to particularly go out to work. Now, understand, I'm not talking about going to the club because that's a different conversation. I'm talking about going
to a place of business.
What is your thought process? Because you, from what I understand, y'all understand that y'all already know that it's hard out here for y'all as women anyway. So y'all gonna put y'all in a position to where, wow, I'm gonna be perceived as something, or B, I'm gonna come across as perceived as perfection. Those are a couple of options that you guys have. Please take me through the thought process of what y'all women do when y'all put on y'all clothes to go.
I could tell you that for me, if I'm concerned about the perception, if that's what you're saying, like I'm putting on my clothes, but I'm like, oh, what is this person going to think about me? What's that person going to think about me? So that makes no sense. I'm just looking in my closet as to what's going to make me comfortable through an 8-hour shift. Number one. Okay. Do I look presentable? Okay. Number two, and that's what I'm talking about. What you just went through it's in the eye of the beholder, right? Because what you perceive as presentable, maybe she don't feel that way. Maybe where she come from, that is presentable. You know what I'm saying? She might be coming from the strip club, and you know some of them, how they dress, they feel like this is key. There was a preacher, okay, who had her previous background of being a prostitute or whatever, and she did her sermons purposefully with her nipples out. Purposely did that to send a message.
Yeah, just don't pay attention to that. Pay attention to what I'm saying.
Right.
Okay.
That, and I told you before you make your comment to keep Lady Godiva in your mind. These are all women that's making a point of, I have something more to bring to the table other than my body.
Absolutely, but when you wear stuff that just presents your body, that's the first thing that I see. I'm not worried about
you're
what
saying, right.
Hold on. Because if the only thing that might even make me have a thought to, hey, I wonder where her mind is at, is what she got on. Do you understand what I'm saying?
That's your own dilemma. That's your own.
It should be like that. I'm not saying it should be like that. But what I'm saying is, it's not a bad idea for some of y'all to take that into consideration.
Why am I taking your thought process into consideration for my wardrobe? What are you talking about? Yes, exactly. She don't know you.
Are you dumb?
I want y'all to, but
how
she don't know you. She don't know you.
It's almost like y'all trying to No. It's almost like y'all purposely trying to perpetuate a situation.
Perpetuate what?
How we perpetuate a situation when you're bringing the situation? We just living our lives.
Yeah.
And you're over here talking about yes.
Okay. So
talking about colors up to the booty. Like, that has nothing to do with me.
You wake up in the morning, you put on a body. No. Walk with me for me. You going to work. You going to work where you work with people with disabilities or whatever the situation may be, and they come from different ends of the spectrum. You come into work, you wearing see-through leggings.
Right.
You wearing sundresses with no dress. Now, y'all know how men work. Y'all even think that y'all do not know how men work.
Sure.
You like, well, you know what? Just because I know how y'all work,
right,
don't mean I shouldn't have to present it to y'all. I could absolutely present it to
you.
Don't say nothing. So a girl should not walk down the street by herself at night, is what you're saying.
Absolutely, she shouldn't.
Okay, yeah.
Basically, a girl can't just live.
Listen to me. Do you understand?
A girl can't live?
No, basically is what you're saying. But listen, it speaks more to your thought process, your cognition, than it does me.
How so?
You're diminishing yourself, your credibility. Because if you're saying that when you meet a woman, what immediately comes to your mind as a man, right? Karreith is all canceled out now. Now we can talk about male ego, basically. Karreith doesn't exist. What his mama taught him don't exist. Nothing. The morals is gone, right? I meet you, right? Colors up to the booty. That's who you are, right? This person that you're referring to is your supervisor. You must know what she's capable of doing or not. Is she capable of putting the meds in wherever? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So, right. So it has nothing to do. That speaks to you, honestly.
I don't think that really speaks to
me. It does. It says your
brain stops at a certain point, right?
Basically.
Okay, so let me get this right. It speaks to me living the nature of a man. Now, hold on. I'm not a pedophile. I'm not a rapist. I don't do unnecessary gawking. I don't grab hands. I don't believe in doing stuff like that. I believe
So you weren't gawking and the colors up to the booty.
I believe in the one thing that both of y'all say where, in order for you to talk to a girl, you should have some kind of relationship. I do believe y'all, but sometimes you see a chick in the morning, you're probably never going to see it again, so sometimes you might want to drop a line. Ain't nothing wrong with that. However.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Ain't nothing wrong with a stranger coming up to me and be like,
and dropping a line, as you say.
You think your mom and dad knew each other from the first day? You think your mom and dad knew each other from the first day? They woke up and, hey, I want to have my baby. Man,
what?
It was crazy that one.
Well, nowadays, that is the line that men come with. They'll be just direct. Like, I want you to have my kids. And I don't know you. I don't know your brain. I don't know nothing. That's the day they want to live in.
They have my kids. Listen, man, God has blessed me.
This is true
I've-
stuff.
I didn't
I'm
know
telling
that-
you.
I've done that so many times. I want you to have my baby.
While he was in you?
No.
The what?
Why would?
What are you talking about right now? Why he was in you?
Why y'all looking at me crazy? Like,
What do you mean?
stuff like that.
All right.
While he's in you, he
Let's-
might be like, I want you to have my baby.
let's wrap
They
this
never
up
do
and wrap-
pillow with y'all?
Let's wrap this
What?
up.
What?
And wrap it up in a consensus. Let's wrap it up
Okay.
and wrap it up in a consensus. We have a guest here, so we gotta push it forward.
Right. So what did you get from this discussion? From what you brought to us with the colors up to the booty?
Okay.
And
So what I took from this discussion, according to you two beautiful ladies, is that women can wear whatever they want to wear, and we need to stand out line and just check ourselves before.
what you
we
mean
check
staying in
out. That's
line? She
essentially
has
what
nothing to
y'all
do with you.
saying.
She has nothing. Is she your daughter? Is she your mom? She has nothing to do with you.
It's unrealistic.
It's
How is
unrealistic.
it unrealistic? You are a man. You have your own thought process. You have a higher. You have a higher.
It's the vocabulary that he's
okay?
using. That it's just
Like you are not. You're not a primate.
Right.
As much as they want you to believe, so you're not a primate.
caveman
You're
banging on your
capable
chest type
of
stuff. Right?
having a higher level of thought to be like, yo, it's not my problem. Keep it pushing. Let me do my job.
But it's absolutely, but it's absolutely okay.
How-
No. I'm what y'all saying about me and men, I agree with y'all. But I need to understand that it is absolutely okay for y'all to go wherever the hell y'all want to go. I
Whatever
do
we
need to
want.
understand.
If you're a grown adult, hold on. If you're a grown adult and you have the decision to have that thought process, sure, whatever you want to wear. You're an adult. You're an adult.
However, with the further support, my original statement, you are bringing unwanted invite and unwanted attention.
We're not
Okay.
bringing no
You
invites.
are,
We
because
went
you
back.
already
We
know
went
what's
back.
up.
We went back to what an invite is. An invite is me personally saying, "Hey, here,
The
come,
keyword is unwanted.
come."
An unwanted invite.
Unwanted. You are thinning it.
But you're unwanted. You're crashing the party.
Are you dumb?
Basically, is what you're saying.
Don't come. We're
Right.
saying
Basically,
come.
don't. Yeah. If I didn't invite you, don't show up.
And
I'm crashing the party.
understand this. If we were to
I'm
do
crashing
this,
the party.
if we were to do this in reverse, if women were to check a guy upon his looks, and then that's how we distinguish how we would interact with a person, you guys would be.
Y'all be looking at our bongos. Don't be acting like y'all don't.
The
bongos. Maybe not y'all. When we wear them gray sweatpants, don't think y'all.
Gray
don't be looking at
sweatpants. I don't know nothing about your gray sweatpants. Let me put that on the record.
I check out the gray sweatpants. I'm not gonna lie.
That's true.
I check out the gray.
Y'all got.
I know.
I'm not a fool, man. Y'all are not.
We check out the gray sweatpants.
Y'all not like us. We are visual. We are like, hey man, some of us are bold with it. Y'all not. Y'all click with
Bold.
it. Bold, snap, and keep it moving.
And
Y'all-
keep it
Right.
moving.
Keep it moving. We don't intrude on your life.
What makes us a different species?
What? Species.
We're the same
Okay.
species. I don't get we're human beings, right?
That's what divides it. Like, all right, cool. If a dude came up now, let's say the dude came to work, right? He had holes in his shoe, smelling like ass, and then I can't say nothing to him. He's allowed to come to work like that, right?
He is. That is his prerogative. Yes.
He's not going to call for no unwanted attention, unwanted comments. He's not calling for those. He's not.
From a supervisor, right? Me as a coworker, if I know the person, I could be like, "Hey, dude, like that's not cool, whatever."
You can't be coming
But
in
this
smelling like
particular
Dior.
person, you don't know her. She's new, and you just start judging her off of colors up to the booty. This makes no sense. Like,
all right, let's wrap this up, guys. So
Let's introduce the guest while we
Let's
watch.
run the
It's nice
consensus.
that. Come on, Pamo ain't say nothing all day. I feel like
because
he's smart. He's smart. He knows better about
he's in a
like.
relationship.
we have guests on guests haven't said anything
He's in
about
a
that.
relationship.
So
All right, guys, let us know what you think about Karreith's asinine, just
Not asinine,
blatant
it's a
statements.
black
We'll be back with more Colored Out.
Color out.
all right, guys, we're back with some more Colored Out, and this segment is We Be in the City.
Hey.
Where your raincoat at? Last week with the coat, this week it's the raincoat.
Yeah,
Yes,
so
yeah,
true. So true. And where is the sun? Why is the sun never
No,
out?
the sun beams,
Gosh.
but it does nothing. It to me is just disrespectful.
So
Why are you so blind to me, but you're not giving me any heat?
Heat.
What's going on?
It's just like so depressing in Rochester now. Like so depressing. Yes, we have a guest with us. Our guest.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I'll go ahead and just kind of jump in here.
Yes.
Yeah,
my
introduce
name
yourself
is-
to everybody. Yeah.
My name is Anthony Anderson. I'm currently.
Oh, wait a minute, like two of you in the world now.
That's right, Anthony Anderson.
Two? There's probably more than
So
that.
you guys might have seen me on Blackish, but
Right.
I'm considering running for Rochester City Council. We've got an upcoming election. We've got the mayoral election is coming up. There's some city council seats that are up for grabs, and there are also some school board races and seats that are up as well. So I'm a candidate. I'm getting out in the community, talking about a host of issues, meeting with people, especially young people in our community, and just really talking about politics and politricks and
Politics is right.
Yes.
It really is time for people to wake up and start questioning people I call political hoarders throughout the city of Rochester and our political system as a whole. So let's get into it.
You threw out some words there. Political hoarders.
A lot of controversial
Yes.
words. You are here for Colored Out. You knew what show you were coming to.
Straight up. Okay, so real quick, let me ask you, when did you decide that being a part of it was something that you wanted to do?
Yes, because I have to be honest with you, man. Like, politics, that game is...
It's a dicey.
I like Monopoly, man. You can play Monopoly. Politics, I can't play it.
Yeah.
So, right.
The thing is this, politics is everything and everything is politics. A lot of us think of politics as just as laws and elected officials. But if you have a job, you understand politics.
Right.
So, you have to think about it that way. Politics is about compromise. It's about deal making. It's about problem solving. And unfortunately, due to, our favorite local politicians and the same faces, people who can't get jobs anywhere else, people who come with the same solutions to the same problems that have kept us stuck in poverty. Have you guys realized that we're still number one in poverty 4 years later, 8 years later, not 1%? Not 1%. We haven't had a 1% drop in poverty here in Rochester. And I think it's time for us to start seriously talking about that. I've got an issue when we have people in the community saying that they represent us, but when we look at some of the policies that they're behind, it seems otherwise. And one of those policies is the red light camera program.
So for the audience that don't know what you're talking about, explain.
So the red light camera program, I think everybody is pretty familiar with it.
Yeah.
It's no longer in place. It was unpopular for the very beginning. And unfortunately, it took 3 years for your local politicians to figure it out. My issue is that after they took the cameras down, after they had been up for 3 years, they tried to make it seem as if they were doing us a favor. This administration and these politicians have had the power to take these cameras down since day one. The reason they waited so long is because it's a program that produces $8 million a year. So instead of politicians working hard and coming up with innovative and creative ideals on how to increase tax revenue here in the city, they decided to go for an easy fix. Let's throw up some red light cameras and ticket people. But my problem is they're ticketing poor people. And they said that they placed these cameras, they said they took the cameras down because they were placed disproportionately in poor neighborhoods. Now, you don't have to study politics, you don't have to be a politician to know that, number one, the cameras were in the wrong place to begin with. Let's be honest, and they said they put these cameras up to reduce accidents. We don't have a huge accident problem here. And we certainly don't have that problem in poor communities because number one,
Who has a car?
most of the poor people I know either don't have a car or they're very selective about where they go because they can't afford gas. So, but your local politician will show up and tell you that they're doing a favor for you by not robbing you. So they place these cameras in poor neighborhoods where they didn't need to be in the first place because we know that all of the accidents and all of the violations to traffic violations are happening where? In downtown Rochester. You see it, go downtown. People running red lights, pulling all up in the crosswalk, speeding.
They got me one time.
Speeding, no cameras around, but they want to put them on Joseph, around Central Avenue, in your poor neighborhoods, adding another layer of debt on poor people. and nobody's saying anything about it. Not only that, I'm someone who believes in independent research. So I took a look at this and did my own research, and what I came to find out was this. Every city that has used this red light camera program has taken it down because the residents haven't wanted it. They don't work. Studies have shown that the cameras flick off sometimes for no reason at all.
Yes,
and we
they
know
do.
this.
Yes, they
And
do.
we know this.
Thank
We
you.
know
And you
this.
still get a ticket.
And you still get a
Right.
ticket.
Yes, they do.
And you still get a ticket.
You
So
still
City
gotta pay.
Hall
Like,
finally decides to take the camera down, but you still owe the money. You still have to pay. So the poor continue to be poor. But these people are going to show back up this year and say, vote for me, while they collect a huge salary and you're stuck trying to figure out if you're going to get a full tank of gas or pay that $50 fake ticket.
I like how you said fake ticket. I have a question for you.
Not only that, the CEO of the company who we got the cameras from was convicted of a felony, along with her top executives and lobbyists who went out to cities like ours and advocated and lobbied to bring these cameras here. Every city has taken them down, or they're in court now facing lawsuits. And so now she's been a convicted felon for taking bribes. Political corruption is rampant, and it's happening here. All you have to do is hit Google or read the local newspaper.
Right. And
We all know about the politician that killed himself before he was due to turn
Right,
himself
right.
in and begin cooperating with the FBI, meaning he was preparing to wear a wire and bring others down with him. But you don't hear this in our community, and it's time for young people especially to stand up and protect the poor and the vulnerable.
But that's where I was going with my question that I have. So how do you convince somebody, younger or older, to that's not okay? You forget ways that you can be effective. Although I feel like I'm not going to be ineffective at all, because I feel like my voice ain't going to be heard nowhere. Look at the election. Look who the guy who's not. I don't know. He's not a president. This thing he works right now. He's not.
he's not your president.
So in 2007, I actually ran for city council. At that time, I was a Republican. I received the Republican endorsement, and I ran against Adam McFadden in the southwest area of the city, which is an area I grew up in. I grew up on Genesee Street, graduated from Marshall High School, studied politics at Bethune-Cookman College, and then at Alabama State University. I started working in politics at 14 in 1998 with Willie Lightfoot Sr., addressing poverty, education, and unemployment. And the reason I joined is I had a natural just passion for it, but also because I knew that for many of us, it's in our nature and in our DNA to stand up and to speak out and to speak the truth. And what has happened is so many people have stopped, and that's why we feel that our voice isn't important. So when you ask the question, well, what can we do? You don't have to run for office. That's not for everybody. But you can give some money if you got it to somebody you know is telling the truth. You can do that. That's a difference. What you can do is you can obey the law. And that's simple. Another thing you can do is you can take care of your children. Everything is politics. So if you take care of your children, guess what? Now, politicians who aren't really concerned about our community can't pull up statistics about fatherless black men. Okay, so that's how you can contribute. Another thing you can do is you can make sure that people on your neighborhood don't sell drugs openly. Why do you have to wait for the police? You know half of the people selling drugs anyway. Some of them are people we went to school with, and they're not bad people. They're selling drugs because they don't have a job, and they can't get a job because they've gone to jail. So these are the things that we have to, address and really start talking about. And those are some of the things that you can do as an individual. One of the things that I do every day is I try to talk to black men because I see them every day walking around with nothing to do because they're homeless. And it bothers me that no one is talking about this. And so I'm going to, whether I run or not, I'm going to spend the next year talking about issues that particularly deal with young black boys and black men because we need a voice. And when you look at every issue, I don't care if it's education here with the Rochester City School District, unemployment here in the city of Rochester, crime here in the city of Rochester. Young black boys and black men are at the heart of the matter. The highest rate of unemployment in the city of Rochester lies with black men. The lowest graduating classes are young black boys. Who's going to jail in Rochester? Black men. So we need to have an independent office within City Hall that focuses on young boys and young black men, making sure that they're off the streets, they're educated, and that they have a job. You want to know how we can add revenue to the tax base? You want to know how we can do better with education? You know how we can get people involved in caring about the community again? Give them a job. Give a man a job, he'll change his household, he'll change the community, and he'll change the city, and then that's how you change the country.
I like a lot of what you said, and I want to go further into that topic. However, you said something about corruption. I want to go into that before we go into the topic of black men. I always found it interesting how people start, having passions for subjects such as politics or teaching or in a place of power, and then once they get there, they, things start to change for them. How do you go into a place where you're new and you're excited and fresh and young and stay that way and not get corrupted?
So I think a lot of it has to do with environment. And I think if you look at whether it's politics or education or crime, depending on the environment you're in, that has a lot to do with the outcome. A lot of our favorite politicians started out on the right path.
Right.
Talking about the issues we cared about, we were behind them and somewhere they got lost down the line. Part of the reason that happens is because, again, they're career politicians. They won't move on and get a job anywhere else. And I have a problem with that. I think we need to start talking about term limits. You want to know how people get corrupted? Because they've been in the same position for 15 and 20 years. There's no reason why any elected official needs to be in office for 20 years. There's no reason. There's no reason.
Talk. No reason.
If you and I we can't, for someone like me who's 32 years old, I don't know anywhere I'm going to be getting a pension. Unless, I take a government job or become a police officer, something to do with public safety. But you mean that these politicians, they can get pensions and stay in positions for 20, 30, 40 years? That's how you become corrupt. You become comfortable. And you become part of the process that you railed against. And that's why I'm for term limits. And I think part of the problem is we need to have a lot of the old guards, if you would, start to really get serious about ushering in a new generation of leadership.
I have another question with that as well, and I agree with what you're saying, term limits. But do you feel as if you have to be a part and play the game to be in it? To be able to stay in it?
Let me be honest with you. In Rochester, yes. Politics, if you're going to be in politics, when we talk about elected politics, part of it is playing the game. But you can play politics, meaning you can compromise, do deal making, and problem solve, but still be true to your core values and to your morals. And that's what a lot of career politicians, your favorite politicians, have now done. I haven't been excited about Rochester politics since Willie Lightfoot Sr. died. You look at some of the leaders we've had in politics, like my mentor, Bill Johnson. I think he's one of the best mayors we ever had. Perfect? No. But then we looked at what happened in the special election with Tom Richards when Bill Johnson was running against him. And we saw how all of our favorite politicians and local Democrats turned their back on Bill Johnson and supported Tom Richards. Mm-hmm. And now look at the mess that we're in. To me, that is something that showed me who was who. Because Bill Johnson had a proven track record as someone who cared about neighborhoods, who was serious about young people getting jobs, serious about cleaning up, affordable housing. And they had a 20-year record of service. And they turned their back on him. And now the same people are saying, who supported Tom Richards, are now calling him and his friends racist. Was he a racist when they supported him? It's funny how what's good for what's good for some is not good for others.
Right.
What do you think made them turn their back on
Politics. But again, you have to be true to morals and to your values. And for me, it was a no-brainer in that situation because Bill Johnson had a proven record of being hands-on and involved in the community. When we looked at crime under his leadership, it had gone down. Affordable housing had expanded. We saw houses going up everywhere. Unemployment was lower than what it was now. Young people were getting jobs all over the place. We were making strides in education. And people felt like City Hall belonged to them. You know, people don't even go down to City Hall anymore. They have the police down there now.
I ain't going nowhere near
When
that.
Bill Johnson was at City Hall and I had an opportunity to be around, you know, police weren't outside guarding his office. They are now. Goes to show you how politics has changed. You don't need the police to protect you against the people when you're doing the right thing, I believe.
Yeah, well, police.
I mean, one thing I heard you say is, you know, you're more focused on helping the young, you know, African American men. But here in Rochester, you know, originally I'm from Florida.
Okay.
Yeah. And, you know, coming from Florida and coming up here, I do see a big difference as far as, you know,
Yes.
the government officials having the ability to help young children, and they rather put it on other things that has nothing to do with expanding the minds of these children or helping them advance or better themselves. Coming here, I've seen a lot of young pregnant, young women, a lot of, you know, young fathers. You know, that's a problem. One of the things that, you know, I thought that should have happened is putting programs in place that would keep these children occupied. And I don't think they've been focused on that. So you know, if you do choose to run for office, what will you do, you know, as a, you know, as someone that's in office to, you know, stop this kind of issue in Rochester?
I think one of the things goes back to jobs. I think if you give a young person a job, that's going to help keep them out of a lot of trouble, and that also helps a family move out of poverty. Because what you and I know is that many times in current modern day families, it's just not mom and dad that are helping that family run. Right. There are some teenagers and some older adults in that home that are contributing and helping as well. And many times there may not be a father, or there may not be a mother. There are a lot of single fathers in Rochester who need help. Another thing that we can do is, and one of the things that I've been perplexed by these local politicians who have been around for so long is DSS sits right in the city of Rochester. A lot of our residents are on DSS because we have high unemployment. Why won't the city get with the county and bring reforms? I know how horrible it is down there. You gotta wait 24 hours to get an appointment.
What are you talking about? Listen, I think they in
We can get together, the city can get together with the county and talk about changing that system. And not only that, not only does the city need to get with the county to talk about reforming DSS, but it's time that we start having a conversation about people that are on social services that have been on there for years and years who no longer should be on them.
Yes.
We should have a process that evaluates these cases fairly. And if you've been on social services for 20 years and you haven't been able to get off, it's time for you to come into the office and meet with us and us to give you a game plan to get you back to work. Because there are young mothers who need these services, and it's time to get those abusers off of them.
Amen. I agree with you. I have something to say with that too. Because because there's this program set up, it conditions the mind to think that, okay, there are these services out here to help us. And so then people tend to become entitled to these services. How do you
That's a good one.
recondition the mind? Because you're going to have a lot of opposers, and a lot of opposers that you're trying to help, but they don't see it as help because the government is helping. The other side is helping. How are you going to help me when you're trying to take away my benefits from me? Now it's reprogramming the mind. How do we go with that?
Well, let me say that this isn't an attack on people in social services because I grew up on social services, okay? And there are a lot of people, let me tell you, who are going every day working 9 to 5, contributing to society. Not lazy on the couch.
In the house. No food.
They have no food, but there are also people who are working every day on social services who are doing the best that they can, and they still can't make it with the regular job and social services. So this is no attack on working people. If you have a job, you get up every day and you work, I don't care where it is, that's honorable. That's honorable. But what we need to do is talk about the abusers of the system. And we all know somebody who's been on the system longer than they need to be. You getting $300 worth of food stamps and it's only you. And no one has figured this out yet.
I always say I needed that.
While there is a family that really needs it, those are the people we're talking about.
Right.
And so what we have to do is we have to, again, start talking about putting in some type of process where we evaluate these cases to help these people find jobs and get them off these programs. Because let me tell you this, people do not want to be on welfare. There's only a very small few that want to be on welfare. No one ever grows up saying, I want to be on welfare. Because number one, it's a cumbersome process. All of the forms and appointments you gotta go to and meet, you might as well get a regular job.
It is, I understand it is a cumbersome process, and I actually work for 211 where we deal with a lot of the people who are homeless and a lot of the people. But I've noticed with how we say there's a lot of pregnant, teenage girls out here, and they have no choice but to be on that program or get Medicaid because they have no choice.
Yes. I'm sorry. I did they have choice.
Okay, yeah, sure. Sure. But then you see a pattern of people not being responsible for themselves because they have something to fall back on in case things like that do happen. And I've seen it. It's one of the things that I've noticed in Rochester since I've come here. I'm also from Florida, and I see these women trying to keep their benefits and float right under so they can keep the benefits and, still live that life. So, go ahead, I'm sorry.
That's why we have to put in a process where we review these cases. And we can say that, if someone has been on social services for 5 years, a red flag should go up into the system and there should be a follow-up appointment to see if they still need the services, why they do, and then an assessment on how we can get them a job. Because there is a family in need right now that needs that, and they will use it as a stepping stone. Social services should be used as an emergency.
Yes.
Not a dependency, as an emergency. It should be used as a last resort. And the city has a responsibility to first make sure that our residents have a job so they don't have to be on social services. But after that, we ought to make sure that it's a process that's fair and a process where we are reviewing people to make sure that they are abusing or taking advantage of the system.
I agree, because I feel as if I can't help but to think that you're gonna have a lot of opposition with that because
opposition from who?
From some of the
people on social services.
I was going to go into it. Kind of ties into my next question.
I get because I work and I get people curse me out. I'm like, well, I need this. What am I going to do with my children? I'm like, well.
You mentioned that before you run under a Republican Party banner. Are you still a Republican now or
No, I'm
Democrat?
a Democrat now.
Okay, right.
As of this year, I could not remain a Republican with Donald Trump in the White House.
Oh.
Right. Okay. So I got two questions, right? Playing into what the Democratic Party represents right now, just in our country, is giving to the less fortunate what they do not have. Right? We know this.
That's right.
That's pretty much the Democratic Party nomination, and most people vote under that banner. It works to the Democratic Party representative because it works in your favor, right? People want those benefits; they want the help, right? Okay, so, and I'll let you talk about how the banner affects you running and what you've perceived from the people just changing that alone, right? From Republican to whatever. Now we know history designs that the Republican Party is your party. And what I mean is, it is your party, right? What is it about the younger or the newer generation coming up, especially of black men and black politicians, that they don't kind of have this want to reclaim the party, bring it back to where it first started, and go from there?
Republican Party?
Yes.
Oh, here we go. They're about to give up.
In 1998, I started working in the Democratic Party. I was 14, so I couldn't register with the party.
Right.
Once I graduated from high school and went to college, I became a Republican. So this was around 2002.
Right.
So after college, I decided to come back home and to, start working here. I remember maybe my first year after college. I met at Spot Coffee with former Superintendent Bohem Vargas and another community icon and leader, I won't mention his name, and a teacher at the Rochester City School District at the time. And this was probably in 2000. And I remember sitting with all three of them and telling them that I was a Republican now. And that probably could have been the worst thing I had ever said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I remember this Rochester icon, this pioneer, this civil rights leader, looking me in the face and calling me an Uncle Tom. And this happened in 2000. It's 2017, and probably every other day I think about it because one is I sort of challenged him on that. Because as a leader in our community, it was probably the worst thing to say to a young man.
Right.
Secondly, I've challenged and I've defended against people in our own community, the black community. I've defended Republicans, not because they're Republican, but because in order for democracy to survive, you have to have political power in all parties.
Mm-hmm.
How can you push a black agenda if we're all in the Democratic Party? Republicans aren't going to work with you if all the blacks are in the Democratic Party. That's not how politics works. So my defense was this. That in order for us to make strides as a community, we need to have political power in both parties. And even in some of the third parties, the Green Party, especially in Rochester, the Green Party is a growing party and a party that we need to listen to because they have some very good ideals when it comes to gentrification, when it comes to keeping our city connected, and when it talks about getting rid of some of these tax breaks that a lot of these developers are getting downtown. And by the way, downtown is being taken over by the wealthy. At some point, the poor will. At some point, most of us in the city may not even be able to go downtown. Can you believe that?
Gentrification.
You know you can't stay there now. We already know we can't afford to live down there. They are turning the Chase Tower now into luxury condominiums.
Mm-hmm.
400,000. Who do you know in your neighborhood that's going to be moving down there?
It made me wonder where harder though.
And I have a problem with that.
Over those Victor residents and those, with that Pittsburgh residents, they're going to be out there.
It's all about money though,
They're going to be out there.
And so we have to start talking about gentrification. And I started talking about this years ago because I saw neighborhoods starting to change. And if you don't believe that it's happening and we need to talk about it right now, just go down Genesee Street. You can start on one end of Genesee Street and be in Section 8 housing, and by the end of the street, there's a subdivision off of Genesee Street where the houses start at $140,000.
Is that by
right before you get to Genesee Valley Park.
Yeah.
People know where it is.
It's right there.
I mean, I understand what you're saying.
You deviated from the question.
Okay.
Why switch from the Republican Party banner to the Democratic?
So, number one is I couldn't remain a Republican with Donald Trump being in the White House for obvious reasons.
Right.
Secondly, in order to really make an impact here in Rochester City politics, you really need to be a Democrat because Democrats outnumber Republicans 6-1. Right. When I ran against Adam McFadden, I think it was 8-1. Yeah. But I ran anyway because I had a passion for the community, and 1,100 people showed up to join with me in saying that change was needed and that they were open to hearing, another perspective as a Republican. And this is the thing: every person I spoke with, the only reason that they could give me that they wouldn't support me was because I was a Republican. That was it. They said, I agree with everything you just said, but I can't do it because I'm a Republican. And that's why I'm on the mission that I'm on. Because I'm going to talk about the Democratic Party and I'm going to talk about the Republican Party. Both have pros and cons.
But the issue I think is people are not educated on these parties.
They really are not. The Republican Party was the party of African Americans until Reconstruction and the New Deal. It wasn't until the New Deal when Roosevelt came into the presidency and started offering jobs and social services and those type of things that, we started to leave the Republican Party. But I tell people that you have to take a look at who you are, what your values are, and to determine what party you belong to. And there are people who tried to come against me because I switched parties. And this is what I say to them. If you think that leaders don't have a right or shouldn't change their mind, then there's something wrong with you. Change is good, and you have a right to change your mind at any time.
Sure. I think with the parties, what confuses people is no one person can be one thing.
That's
you
right.
can just put that out there.
Sure.
You can call yourself Democrat, you can call yourself Republican, you can call yourself Jesus. There's different aspects to yourself. In the community, a lot of times, like you said, it's a miseducation, it's a misinformation that's going on. And when you have politicians jumping from party to party, it kind of doesn't allow people to hone in on what you're saying, grasp what you're saying. Because I think that if you had that guy, right, leading that Republican Party and staying consistent with that, you would get it back to where it needs to be. But people, just like what I said, I told you about Obama. He was Republican in his state, but then he ran under a Democratic Party nomination.
Same thing with Tom Richards. He was a Republican turned Democrat.
Right.
Same with Duffy. People don't forget that Joe Robach was a Democrat who flipped and became a Republican. So, I mean, it happens all the time. My thing is I could care less about political parties. I care more about people and issues.
Right. And to bring it back, something just popped into my mind. Rochester is known to be one of the states in the nation to be rich in resources.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And people come from all over the nation to Rochester just to benefit from the resources that you guys have.
Yeah.
And you guys are open to refugees.
Well, the city is. No, don't say the city is open.
They can't come to your house. No.
And I see the banners that say refugees welcome and everything. But then driving here today, I see a whole bunch of tents for homeless.
Tent City?
Tent City.
Tent
But
City.
then you guys are rich in resources.
Yeah.
And not to say that the refugees don't need help, but refugees are welcome in getting the help.
Yeah, refugees need help, but so do the local homeless who sleep outside of City Hall.
Right.
And I think that it would send quite a powerful message if we got them someplace to sleep first before we dealt with refugees. And that's not anything against refugees, but I was always taught. My mom said something very important growing up. She said the first thing a man needs to do is take care of home. Okay, so let me tell you this: Rochester is rich in resources. We've just been putting them to dead programs that aren't working, and we've been giving it away in tax breaks for the wealthy. Rochester can't end homelessness, and I'm surprised that there hasn't been a mayoral candidate or any politician who's made that a staple platform issue. Rochester should end homelessness, and we can within 5 to 10 years.
You guys can. You guys have the...
More than enough.
I've seen it.
If we just stop paying people to study what we've already studied here, like poverty, like the Rochester City School District. We know what the problems are. We've known them for a very long time. Crime, no jobs, failing education system, and political corruption. We shouldn't pay anybody else to do another study.
I want to talk about the homelessness. I'm just curious. How can you game plan? Spit it at me. 5, 10 year plan. How can you end homelessness?
How can we end homelessness?
Without it costing me.
Without it costing you.
Because that's who it's going to cost.
Sure. We can. I tell you right now.
And I mean that passionately. Because I don't mind helping people, but a lot of times my money go to BS.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I work hard for my... I work hard for my money. And the government already... I literally call and get an annual rate every time I get my check. That's literally what I call it. I put in an hour, man. Before joints looking like 16, I take home 8. Why?
Yeah.
So how can we end homelessness?
And by the way, I think that when speaking about local paychecks, I'm still trying to figure out why do people try to, try to figure out how much you can afford and pay things based upon gross income.
Yeah.
I always thought you should take it from my net. I don't even see the gross.
I don't even mad. That's not what I meant, bro.
You know what I mean? Right. I'm just like, why don't you look at I ain't even seen the gross.
Oh my God.
I got a problem with that. So But how can we tackle homelessness without it costing you?
And I ask you this with serious intention because Tent City, I know some people that live in Tent City, and to some of them, not for nothing, they say, "Man, I don't owe nobody. This is mine."
Yeah.
Some of them take pride in that. So how can we?
Yeah.
What's the idea behind that?
So one of the things that we can do is we can end these large tax breaks that we're giving to developers. For instance, the Chase Tower, I think it's a $54 million project. They received $54 million in tax breaks. For the next, I believe, 5 to 10 years, they'll only be paying $7,000 in taxes, when they really should be paying $2 million a year. So if we just cut the tax break in half right there, we can end homeless in 1 year. If we just stop giving out so much money in tax breaks, if we just cut it by 50%. Another thing the city needs to do is we have all of these independent agencies trying to tackle homelessness. Let's streamline it. Let's make them into one. We've got enough vacant properties where the city can go in and renovate. They can renovate the old tent city that's been vacant and literally house the homeless there. There's no reason why anybody in the city of Rochester should be homeless. That's how you fix it without you coming out of your pocket.
Right. Okay, wait, let me just touch on the homeless thing. Now, Karreith touched on something that's pretty important when you tackle a subject like homelessness. It's not really a thing of, okay, how to end homelessness, because some people choose that life,
true. That is
right?
true.
Because they don't want to keep up with the
Yes.
constant bills. I don't make enough, the stress and so forth. So how do you deal with that? Not
That
even
part.
ending homelessness, but bringing you from...
Affordable housing.
Right.
We need more affordable housing. Every renter who has a city property, they should be open to taking Section 8. I don't know what kind of world these people live in, but money is money. I don't care where it's coming from. If we can get people into good housing and they can pay and they can start to move their life in the right direction and start to see that American dream, we should accept that money. And let me say something, that there are local property management companies and landlords that discriminate against people who have sex.
Oh, you ain't never like
That is no secret, and they should not do it. They shouldn't do it.
So-
And not only that, is these Section 8 properties, the city must get stricter on the inspection, because some of these properties are not kept up well, and I've got a problem with that.
You're correct.
So that's how we do it. By number one, making sure, and I think Councilman McFadden is working on that, making sure that landlords and property management accept Section 8, period. We need to increase more affordable housing. We need to renovate some of the affordable housing we have now. We've got some good affordable housing downtown that is in need of desperate renovation. So that's how we tackle that. And again, jobs. Jobs. And what the city needs is we need on-the-site jobs. And I'm going to I'll tell you how we can do that easily. We got the empty inner loop there. I would have rather seen young black men, young white men, black women, white women, Asians, Hispanics. I would have rather them have shovels and hard hats and done the loop project themselves, and we trained them, then pay millions of dollars to the same construction people. Do you know that what that would have done for our community if they could have saw our own people, hundreds of them, being paid for a capital project like that? And we can do it. We can do it. And so that's some of the things, that I'm talking about doing. Because, again, there is something that happens when somebody has a job. And I say that because I know what it's like not to have a job. I mean, when you have a job, the way that you look at yourself changes. You have a job, I don't even have time to sell weed today. I got to go to work.
Right.
You want to know how to take drug dealers off the street? Again, it's jobs. And we can do it by having day one jobs where people can go. I feel like it's not tough to be able to train men and women to do, certain projects here in the city than bringing in these big companies that get millions of dollars to do the same projects over and over, while people
Right.
who need a job
I was just about
go
to
without.
tell him. Yeah, I'm right here with him. I'm right here with him. I'm right here with
Come
him.
on, man. Big Al on the block is raking in thousands a week. What kind of job is gonna pay him?
That's what I was just about to talk about. Job stands for just above broke.
Yeah.
So what are you giving to the people and giving them
Now,
a job?
and I know you're
right?
being realistic.
Yeah,
Right,
right.
They gotta be within
Reason.
range.
Right,
They ain't
right,
gotta
right.
be- Look, I know you're making stats on the
Sure.
block, but homie, man, this is real stuff. So I grab that.
So I think one of the things that we can do is not only, like you guys said, not only do you need a job. There's like we know a lot of people that have jobs and
Right,
still
struggling.
barely making it, but you need good jobs. So how do we do that? I think number one, we need to make community college more accessible.
How about free?
Yeah.
How about that?
Seattle started doing it, right?
You know, we really could do that. We really could do that. I mean, if I made it to City Hall, I would have my staff cut their salaries by 50% to start a scholarship fund to send our city kids to school who can't afford it.
You know why China's so far advanced in life? Because they don't got paper dollars. They don't got paper dollars.
Well, the United States can make college and healthcare free if we really wanted to do it.
Absolutely. I should not. Hold on. I don't understand it. I gotta
We're
go.
working on that.
I mean, I know I'm straight in different areas. You're blocking me from it. I gotta pay XYZ amount of dough to get an education. The problem not gonna use. I gotta take classes that I probably don't even need to take. This can mean a curriculum to tell you that I get a paper on my wall that I'm accomplished.
I'm right, qualified.
Okay. I get out of college. I graduate college. I accomplished something. I'm in debt already.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Then I gotta look for a job. And most of my people that I know in college, it took them 3-4 years to get a job. I have some few friends who got out of college and boom. Even then, they thought, damn, I'm still in the hole.
Yo.
Yes.
So what, like,
Yo.
in China, first of all, they go to school 6 days a week. You get 1 day to chill. And it's constant education. If that was the case, if we can give free education, people getting out of school will be able to make something. You find a doctor who's able to innovate stuff. When you give people stuff and put them in a position to succeed, man, a lot of stuff, English shit can happen. But when you got the stuff, you got to do this, roadblock, it puts us in a position that we're in.
No, you're absolutely right. And, you know, like I said, I think we can certainly get people better paying jobs by putting in place more opportunities for community college, whether that's be certain employers that notice certain high school students that may have a certain mathematical or science skill or talent. And they take that student and work with that student and promise that if they graduate from high school, that they will help subsidize their college tuition if they come work for them.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we can do it
Oh
right
yeah,
there.
it's almost like a you know how when you're a kid and you get a scholarship from college
Work
or whatever.
study.
Yeah.
Work
It could be
study.
like, yo,
Yeah.
I didn't know that was there.
Exactly. We can start doing that. Another thing that we can do is there are a lot of good paying jobs that are just that have kind of gone away, like electricians.
Mm-hmm.
Electricians.
Plumbers.
I have a fraternity brother that's a electrician, and he makes a very good living.
Yeah.
Very good living. We need to continue to make sure that information about those type of apprenticeships and training programs are out in the community, and we need to make sure that there's a central office within City Hall where people who don't have a job can go and get this information.
There's
That's
something
so
as well, like
Trade
growing
schools.
up in high school, we
Yeah.
had a mechanic class for fixing cars.
Yeah, you learn trades.
A lot of these
Yeah,
kids
trade
open up their
school.
business, man.
They
Yeah,
don't-
yeah.
they don't have
They
those-
don't have those no more.
They don't have those.
People shouldn't have to pay for that too. Like
They
I feel
shouldn't.
like there should be grants. I'm not about giving people free. I'm really not. I'm all for you work for what you get.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? I get that, but you can't expect people to accomplish stuff behind the eight ball all the time.
Well, this was what was said in the Republican Party. They have a motto where they believe in you pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. But the question was proposed, what if you don't have any boots?
Boots or no lazy.
That's
For
what-
that matter.
That's what a
They
lot
got
of
the boots.
people are struggling with. So, you know, I just think more access to education, and you can do that on a certain number of ways. Another way that we can do it is through childcare. One of the local mayoral candidates is talking about that. Childcare is expensive. I mean,
Preach.
almost, for some people, $200 a week. It's almost a mortgage payment for childcare. What we can do is see if the city would just get innovative and become more inclusive. We could start to, number one, expand childcare by, again, taking some of these wealthy tax giveaways to these corporate developers, and making sure that we have funds set aside for people who need childcare so that they can go to work or go to school. And that's how you qualify for the childcare. You either have a full-time job or you're a full-time student. Another thing that we can do to get people prepared for better paying jobs through education, one of the things I think we need to do is we need to turn our downtown library 24 hours a day. You want to keep kids off the street? You want to keep kids off the street? You want to help people get jobs? And let me tell you, we can staff these people with people we know from the community that care and love our children. Think about it. We have our downtown library open 24 hours. We have a place where young people can go because most of them don't want to do wrong, but because they're in a certain environment, they just need some place to go, and they end up going to the wrong place around the wrong people. Secondly, a lot of the homeless are at the downtown library. We need to target those people and start right there training them for those type of jobs we're talking about.
Key.
Thirdly, when you have a downtown library that's 24 hours, now you can add a couple more shops in there. Some small businesses can start making some money now. What if we open a citywide daycare in there at a discount rate for city residents? These are the innovative ideals that we need public servants to offer, and not politicians. I think that's probably the biggest problem in the city of Rochester, is that people have forgotten the public service that's attached to politics. You are still a servant of the people, and the people can hire and fire you.
That's very true. So we kind of got off track. You never really got a chance to talk about it. Black men. You kind of touched on that, and I wanted you to really go in.
So for black men, again, I said this a couple years ago that I believe the turnaround of the city of Rochester will really depend.
I heard you say that, and I had told Karreith about it, and I was like, okay, I hope he goes in on it.
Poor black man. They always messing me about that.
That's something that's very important to me, because it was, something that my mentor, Willie Lightfoot Sr., talked about and worked with black men. And when you go around the city, you can see the hunger for black men for leadership and for change. And so I'm hoping that I can be a voice for them, because, again, when you look at every issue, at the heart of the matter, there's a black man and a black face at the end of it, whether it's crime, the graduation rate, or who's unemployed. And I think that we have to have someone who understands what black men are going to. Because black men make up 40% of the city population. So, we have to really focus in on them. And a lot of black men are giving up hope in our city. They're either leaving, or they're getting caught up in some other things because they've given up. And so part of what I want to do this next year is really talk about the issues facing them, and really be a voice, and really bring them to the table. And so there will be several things that I'm looking to do. One of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a political action committee that will put money behind candidates that will focus on issues affecting young black boys and black men. Secondly, I'm going to try to push for an independent office of black male achievement that will focus on young black males and black men in the city of Rochester. And if any of our mayoral candidates are listening, I hope that they would pledge to have such an office like that, and to be a voice for black men who are vulnerable at every level in this city to every statistic that people are talking about. And I hope that black men will support me as I be a voice for them moving forward.
Okay, so one thing I want to touch on is you talk a lot about your mentor.
Yes.
Do you think that's lacking from the community now?
Yes.
I was just about to say that.
Yes. Part of the problem we have is that a lot of the old guards won't give up that power. They won't allow a new face or a new voice to be a part. And what happens is all of that knowledge dies, all of that experience and wisdom dies. We have to have a succession plan, okay? Right. Some of the longtime political leaders are getting up in age, okay? They won't be here forever. There has to be someone to carry on. And the quicker we equip them and educate them instead of controlling them, the better off our city is going to be. And I've spoken to Republicans and Democrats in public and in secret who have talked about that. The fact that they want to bring about change, they want to sit at the table, they want to talk about some of the true issues that aren't being talked about, and they can't because, again, those political guards won't let them in. But I'm here to make it known that you don't have to ask for permission to participate in democracy. You can demand it.
I have a question just bouncing off of hers because of that's some she asked you something I really wanted to ask you. What about mentoring Black men, like just in the city?
Yeah.
Having a place like where you said, city library, 24 hours where they can just introduce daycare. What about a place where Black men can go to? And I've been seeing these, all around Facebook where they have these places where Black men go to and they teach them how
They
to.
have one here right by the house.
Do
The
they?
Leadership Academy for the
Where
young
they
men.
I never seen no one in it though.
I think they're still building it, if I'm not mistaken.
So that's what the central office at City Hall would be. It would be a place where any Black male or anyone concerned with Black men or issues facing young Black boys and Black men could go, whether it's you needing to know what's a good school for your son where he can go, whether it's I need someone to come to my house and talk to my son because he's threatening me and I'm a single mother, whether it's I don't even know if my son is going to school. Look, when Superintendent Vargas was the superintendent, he had a truancy program where he had people from the community go out and knock on doors of kids who weren't coming to school. A lot of those walkers were Black men. And the response was overwhelming. When Black men took to the streets and started knocking on doors and asking these kids why they weren't coming to school, they started showing up. Okay? So having that independent office, putting a focus on making sure that our police and fire departments continue to be staffed properly with minorities, not only Blacks, but with women and other minorities. That's how we get this accomplished.
Okay.
There's something else for
Not only that, let me say this. Our justice system needs incredible reform. You think our political system is a mess. Look at our justice system, and now the political spotlight and national spotlight has been shined upon it because we now know that the poor are going to jail simply because they're poor and didn't have proper representation. Another thing we can do here in Rochester is make sure that the poor have proper representation. There are a lot of people who don't have the means to represent themselves, who are being taken advantage every day. And I know because I've worked with these people, we have people every day being discriminated against. They can't do anything about it because they need the job. They can't do anything about it legally because they can't afford an attorney. An attorney costs $250 an hour.
Trust me, I know.
And not only that, let me say this. Our child support system needs to be reformed, and our family court system in Monroe County needs to move the child support office out of the same office as the office of probation. A man who wants to make a child support payment for his son, or a woman who wants to make a child support payment for their child to make sure that they have a warm house, have a quality education and shoes on their feet, shouldn't have to be patted down, shouldn't have to have their bag gone through, and shouldn't have to stand in a line with people who have committed crimes when they haven't, when they're here to make a payment to ensure that their children can eat.
Wow.
And I'm sad that no one has said that. Here you are, a man or a woman, coming to a place that you pay for out of your tax dollars, and you got to go through a metal detector, got to be patted down, and have your bags gone through? I don't think so. They need to move it out of there.
But I was going to say, off of what you were saying, I think the issue is, times is changing.
Yeah.
And when you have, people who are still stuck in 1980,
You're right.
That's because they had the same political leaders from the 1980s.
Yeah,
still in power.
so I see what you're saying. You do need new people with new mindsets that are changing with the time to come in there and make changes. One of the things that I was thinking about when you said is the assistances that they have. Me myself, I believe that I wouldn't say take all of it away, but some of them need to be taken away because there are some people who don't understand that if they can't move on without it. They feel that they can't move on with it because it's still here, it's still available. My mom raised 4 kids by herself at the time, worked 2 jobs. And she made it without it. So I believe that a lot of, people out here could make it without it. as long as they're focused on, on working hard. We don't have that work hard ability no more
Work
because
ethic.
everything is given to you. So the assistance thing, me myself, I think it should, be pulled back a little bit.
That's what I was.
I'm not a big supporter of Donald Trump. I'm not. I'm be honest. I'm not a big supporter of Donald Trump.
Don't say.
But he was at the time. He was a Democrat before he became a Republican.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Because he realized he get more money, keep more money in his pocket.
Yeah. That's another thing is the money aspect of things. Political people shouldn't be getting paid in the $100,000s. I don't think, because police officers don't even make that much.
Absolutely.
And it's the pressure on it that make them, I'm tired of this. You're doing this stuff. They go after you because they want a better community. But how do you better community when you got people's mindset that's not changing, and political people that's there are not wanting to help that, that happen. You who said, you're 32 years old, I could see where you're coming from, because you coming in with that new, fresh mindset. It's going to make that change, and you got younger people that's going to be willing to listen to you because you're not that far from their, their age.
And let me say this, I'm someone who is a son of Rochester.
Mm-hmm.
I was born and raised here. I only left Rochester to go to college, and I came back. Okay, and that wasn't because I didn't have any other opportunity. There are some people here because they're stuck. They would have you believe otherwise, but they are stuck. But I was someone who decided to come back, and so I've been here and I've watched, our city change, and I've watched some of the same people allow our city to decline, and where I've watched them change, their passion change. And this is no attack on anybody. I'm not, against anybody or running against anybody, but I'm for something and for a group of people. And that is the poor, the weak, the vulnerable, young professionals, black men, young black boys, people who are on social services who want to get off. Let's say this, people who are on Section 8. Why won't the city create a program where if you're on Section 8, if you can save up $10,000, we'll match you and put you in one of these city homes after we renovate it. We add money to the tax base. We take somebody off social services, and now they have a stake in the community. Now they have to be concerned about drugs being in their neighborhood, or it's going to bring down their property value. Right. That's how you bring about change. And it's not that hard.
One thing I wanted to touch on that I don't think I heard you touch on at all. I heard, and it happens this way a lot. It's just the truth. It's the plight of the black man. What about the black woman?
Yeah.
Talk about her and what you're going to do for her or women in general, because under this administration currently, it's a big thing.
So,
you was holding on that one, wasn't you?
One of the reasons...
You had that one in your picture. You
Hold on. I was thinking the same thing, too. Because
both of y'all had it. I knew y'all had that.
Because he kept saying black man.
Yeah, the men. Yeah, let's get the men jobs. All right, cool.
What about the woman who
is taking care of kids?
But yeah, and she's the one that's getting the education,
right?
And still,
absolutely,
is not
right.
Absolutely. In our city, I believe everybody should be able to live and prosper, regardless, of your race, your age, your color, your sexual orientation, your economic level, education level, gender. The reason I speak so much about young black boys and black men is because that's who I am. And so that makes me an expert on that. Secondly, the reason I speak about it so much and so forcefully is I believe that black men are protectors and providers of black women and black children. So when I say black men, that's all inclusive, because I believe that the black man is the protector and provider of his family. So everything that I've said that we need to do for the black man, we need to do for the black woman and for black children and for white men and for white children and for white women. But I've made it my personal mission to talk about black men and young black boys is because that's what I know. And that's who I know is reaching out to me asking for help.
I want to piggyback off that.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to assume you came from...
But for women, they need jobs. We have to expand child care for them. There needs to be equal pay for equal work.
Okay.
So...
Well, I mean...
We all want the same things.
Did your grandmother and your mom provide powerful women in your life?
Very much so.
Yeah, so...
my mother was a single mother. She raised 4 kids. I remember my mother telling me a story about her being pregnant with me and having to walk to work and back home. You know,
So
so for me not to say something, and for there not really to be a black man in the home, I have to say something because I've got to make up for some of that.
That's why I was going to go with it. Because my grandmother raised me. My mom had, some a path in her life that she had to take. But nonetheless, my father wasn't in my life. But my grandmother had boys who had some sort of male figure in the house. But that kept me and my brother out the street because they was in the street.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's why I completely agree with you 1,000% that. I'm not saying it ends with us. Any black man knows that we're nothing without our black woman.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm talking about the black community, and change in the black community is going to start with the black man. You can dice it up any way you want, but at the end of the day, that's where it's going to begin.
Okay.
If you don't believe me, all you got to do is go home today with your kids, have a black man walk into the room and see what change it makes.
Or just say this one line. You want me to tell your daddy?
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's wait. We're gonna go take. Here's where it begins. You wouldn't be here had a black woman not push you out.
Absolutely.
So that woman needs to be taken care of. That woman needs the resources because whether or not you're there, she still has to take care of the kids. You didn't just prove that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you have people constantly championing for black men, getting them off the streets, doing this, doing that.
I don't know if that's constantly happening.
No, it is. You have more programs for you than you do for me. That's just what that is. That is the era that we live in. There's no programs for me. I can tell you that right now. I am 26.
There are more
I went to
programs for women
college.
than they are for men.
Black women?
Not black women. And this is what
you know that are rampant for black men that we can go to.
There's lots. You just sat here and spoke. I don't. That's for y'all to know. That's you, right?
There's no alternatives for battered men.
There's no alternative for battered men. I've helped battered men.
No,
I work in the psychology field.
There's a household for battered men.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. Yes, there is. Yes, there is.
Hold on. No, like I'm going to tell you. It used to be called. Hold on. It used to be called ABV, and now they turned it to Willow because it is for men and women now.
Oh, okay. It's for men and women.
But I've worked in houses that are primarily for men who were abused, men who don't have money, men who... I work in the psychology field. I know that these resources exist for men. And I also know they exist for battered women. But the women that I'm talking about is the women who are trying to do something with their lives. There are no resources for that woman, that younger class woman who went to college, did whatever. And there's no welfare for me. There's no social security for me. Right? Because according to the government, I'm capable of taking care of myself.
Exactly.
And I think that's why we have to have the city come in with the programs such as, extending home buying opportunities, by helping people who save up money, by expanding daycare, by making sure that we prepare men and women for high-paying jobs. Because the job market is changing. A lot of these jobs now are becoming... they're engineering and very technical and software based. So we have to have training programs to get people prepared for that, but also we have to find a way to pay them at the same time. Because, you can't learn and not make money.
Right.
And
so,
unfortunately, the bills don't stop.
My whole thing that goes into what I'm constantly hearing is that, politicians are out there for the downtrodden. They're out there for the weak. They're out there for this. What about uplifting the ones who are helping themselves, and then they can turn and turn back and tag the man in? You know what I mean?
I want to piggyback right off of what she's saying because me, as myself, being a person who's gone to college and who's come from a family where the downtrodden family, I'm at a place where I'm not there, but I'm not at a place to be like, okay, I've gone to school, so I can go to work and have a job and everything is paid. You know what I'm saying? So, and then I start to think. I either have to have a child.
There you go.
To get the help.
Wait a minute, I just want to make sure I understand it. Again, so you're saying how it is for you is not equivalent to how it is for a man who might be in your same position?
Let me. I'm
just curious.
Let me say something because I kind of understand where y'all come from. What they're trying to say is, you have a black man, okay, that have a child with a woman, and that's what I'm seeing here. But this actually is opposite. But coming from Florida, I'm going to use an example. You have the man who's going to have the child, but have the opportunity to say, I don't want to do this, I'm out. The woman's stuck with the child. And most of the time, the benefits go to a woman with a child. But what they're asking is, how do you help a black woman who does go to school, doesn't have a child, but still can't find a job?
I'm asking the same thing for the man, though.
What you mean?
The men who don't have a child.
We already talked about that.
He gave programs for that man. He did not give programs for that woman.
See, that's another thing that I don't agree with. I told you.
What's the program?
What talking about, Karreith?
He just gave a whole plan of how he plans to help that young man.
No, but this is why I feel like he's going with this, is that we don't have men no more. Because you have a lot of these men who are still boys, but with men body. If you have a young listen, if you have a man, you know, who is established coming to these young boys and showing you how to be a man, then guess what? At the end of the day, that man could help a young woman. At that point, that
What?
no, I'm not saying that. Listen, because that young woman already. Listen, ain't nothing stronger than two smart, strong black people together.
But you can't say it like
There's
that.
not. No, it's not. It's not. Listen, you need that because I'm telling you, you're looking at Rochester where you have these young women, and I've talked to them. I'm like, where are your senses? Because they're going after the bad boys, and that's just the truth.
What do you mean? Don't you think you need to promote educated black women in the community to turn around and help these girls? You're talking about the black man.
I disagree with
she's the mother. She raises the kids.
And in that sense, you're saying black women should rely on the black man.
That's what you're saying.
No. That's not what I'm saying. See, this is the problem. It's the listening. Because listen to what I'm saying. I'm saying you need those men. Back in the day,
of course you do. You need the family structure.
You need that because you have fathers who are being fathers that was able to. They're the reason why you have some strong women today because they had the fathers in their life to show them, don't rely on this man. Do it. You know what I'm saying? We don't have that no more. That's what I'm saying. We need those men. We need them.
Absolutely right. But what I'm saying is,
they're saying regardless if we need that, what about them? That's exactly what they're saying.
Right. So regardless of whether or not the black man makes it to where he needs to make it, the black woman has to make it to where she needs to make it because she is responsible for the kid.
It's an equal opportunity thing.
It's not an equal opportunity thing because it's my kid.
You can't. We can't feel like we can't.
But y'all being selfish.
How are we being selfish?
You're focused on women's right now. That's what you're doing.
Yes, because there was no focus for it. That's why people come out and say, "Hey,
we're
we
talking
need this."
about young children that are growing up now. That's what we're talking about.
Yes.
Let's focus on that.
And who are most of those kids with? Who are most of those kids with?
Who are they? They with the mothers.
Okay.
They with the mothers.
That's my point.
He just said there's programs for mothers. Y'all just said that. There's programs for mothers.
No, we said
hold on.
Daycare. I'm not a mom. I'm not a mom.
Why
what are you talking about?
Let's work together. Let's work together instead of working against each other. That's the issue.
No, what we're saying is, right?
Yeah, the argument is
the issue. Right, listen very carefully. Men are in a position, especially black men, with the polarization of police, crimes and all that stuff.
Yeah.
People are focused and championing for these issues because it's polarized. It's in your face, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Me as a black woman, me as the educated black woman, all I see on TV is the girl with the 5 kids, who needs welfare, and right. Mm-hmm. I don't see me.
Okay.
No. And there's no need, and there's nothing in people's mind like, let me push this girl out there, and it might change the whole dichotomy of things. Right?
Where we are the women seeing that and feeling like, well, maybe we're doing something
wrong because
we need to have those children in order to get the kind of
the check. And I seen people living comfortable lives on food stamps, all this stuff. It's crazy.
Think to myself, oh my gosh, we have gotten it wrong somewhere. I need to have 5 kids.
Right.
Because then my health
we work in mental health, right?
Well, I think that's why we talked about the city working with the county in regards to social services, because we really need to start looking at people who've been on the system and seeing if they still need to be on, because those tax dollars could be going elsewhere to help other people who need it. Mm-hmm. Instead of spending it, going towards food stamps, it could be used, towards job training, helping someone go from a bachelor's to a master's.
Yes.
Also with the expanding and making it home buying more accessible. I feel like we can put every family in a home and work with them to keep that home here in the city with all the money that we receive.
I'm with you.
And so I think there's a hunger for people. They want to see change on a ground level. They want to be able to point to families in their neighborhood who have gotten a better job. They want to be able to point to, streets where new development is at the same rate as downtown development.
Right.
And I think that black women have a unique opportunity right now, obviously, because we have a black mayor,
right.
very intelligent, and who picked up an amazing victory. And I think she has focused on making sure that young girls and women are getting the attention they need. But at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We want to be able to get assistance when we need it. We want there to be a system in place that makes sure people don't abuse the system. Mm-hmm. We want to own a home. We want to be able to have a good job where we can save up for that home. We want to make sure our kids have jobs so they don't have to resort to selling drugs or becoming prostitutes. And we want to get rid of long-term political hoarders who stay in position and don't let young people have a voice at the table, or who continue to delusion us with grand ideals, but very little execution. Mm-hmm. Every week there's a new study going on in the city. You never hear when the study is over. I mean, they study everything. We've studied poverty probably 20 times. They have a task force now studying poverty again. Nothing has changed. Poverty is still high. What do we need to study yet again? I would much rather take the money,
right,
and
hire people to reconstruct city parks. I would much rather do that than study, spend $400,000 or $500,000 studying poverty yet again. We know what the issue are. We need jobs. We need jobs. We need jobs.
We need jobs. We need jobs. We need jobs.
Audition for jobs.
All right, Anthony. I thank you for coming out. You taught us a lot. You educated us.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. This was my
Very
first time
so.
being here, first time on the radio. If people want to connect with me,
Please.
Maybe somebody might book me after this.
You're right. Anthony.
I'm trying to get me a job. But people can connect with me on Facebook and LinkedIn, Anthony Anderson, Anderson.
Do you have anything you want to say to the audience?
I just want to tell people that I think part of there's a changing of the guard. I think people are starting to wake up and see the writing on the wall that for far too long we've relied on the same old people who are doing the same old things.
Right.
And so for people who really want change, I think you have to start to listen to voices that you maybe have never heard or considered before. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes it's okay to go in a new direction. It doesn't mean that you still don't support one person or another, but you just realize that we can do so much more. And that's why change is so needed and necessary. Listen, there's a reason why the president can only win twice. There's a reason why he can only win twice. Mm-hmm. We have to get rid of the political hoarders in our system.
Right. You don't want a Putin
That's
situation.
what's causing all of the problems. The same old people. Mm-hmm. Not only that, we need to make sure that people who are elected, we need to make sure that they live in the city. We need to make sure that people who sit on city committees live within the city committee.
Right.
And we need to start having more discussions about teachers living in the city, police officers living in the city, firefighters living in the city. It's city time. We're focusing on the city. You're invited to be a part of our city, but you got to have skin in the game.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And if you want to take city money for city jobs, you need to own a city home and you need to live here and pay city taxes. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot we can do, but we got to get clear about what we want to do and who we want to do it with. It's going to take all of us to do it. But one thing is very clear, and that is change is needed.
Right. Well, there you guys have it. We be in the city.
We be in the city.
Hey. We'll be back with more Color Out.
Color Out.
Hey guys, unfortunately we're at that time where we got to end.
Today's not unfortunate. Today is thank God that we don't have to hear this anymore.
You know what? I've had this thought in my mind too. Before we go ahead and close it out, I was like, it was a very sad thought. I'm like, I'm gonna raise a daughter in a place where she's either going to get molested, raped, or whatever, or taken,
diminished past what she is,
right? Or she just. And that's the society we live in, and that's the society that I'm going to have to accept.
Yeah, but what's crazy is that they don't think that they are doing that. That's the crazy part.
And people just don't even want to change their concept or their mindset.
Of course, they're not going to change it because that would change the roles.
And I was legit having this conversation with myself
the other day.
And it's unfortunate, and I guess.
Yeah, it sucks. All right, so, let's thank our guest, Anthony Anderson, for coming on the show. He taught us a lot. He did. Mm-hmm.
He wants to big up the black man.
He does, and there's nothing wrong with that. But just take the black woman with you.
Nothing at all. Okay.
All right, let's wrap this up. Thank you guys for listening.
And you know what? Please, if you have the chance, take your time and write to us on our Facebook, on our Twitter, on our Instagram, on our Gmail. We want to hear from you.
Yeah.
Just
Yep,
how
yep.
Anthony Anderson was able to come on this show,
So are you guys.
You.
Yep. All right, guys. See you next time.
Peace.
Peace.
Color out.